listening to Tapped In, Buncombe County's half hour to empower on WRES 100.7 FM in Asheville. Listen up and get tapped into local important resources, information, and topics. Learn more about the topics of today's show at buncombecounty.org. Okay, it's time to get tapped in. Well, hello. And if you hear this, which is my voice, you know that it is time to get tapped in. It is me, ZaKiya Rogers, and
I'm Leonard Jones.
Leonard and I come to you from the Communications and Public Engagement Department of Buncombe County, where the heroes wear capes.
Joining us today, our guest is Dr. Osiris Carter, Buncombe County's Public Safety and Communications Director. He is here to share the great work that's been happening in public safety and also inform us about Telecommunications Week. So welcome, Dr. Carter.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Great. So before you jump into all of that, tell us where you're from. Let our listeners know who you are, where you come from, and how long you been here?
Well, I was born and raised in the Atlanta, Georgia area. Spent most of my time there outside of when I went to undergrad at Tennessee State University. Mm-hmm. I'm a 17-year vet of emergency services. I worked at Fulton County Department of Emergency Services for all those 17 years. Did every single position from call taking all the way up to deputy director. I found this position online, applied, and I was blessed to be able to join the Buncombe County team about 7 or 8 weeks ago.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us.
No problem.
Yeah. So welcome here. Are you enjoying, even though we're in recovery, are you enjoying your time in Asheville, Buncombe County?
Most definitely. I'm actually glad to be able to be a part of these recovery efforts, especially within the emergency communications arena. So yes, I'm definitely glad to be here.
And you said something, emergency, what did you say? Emergency communications. That's
yes,
what
ma'am.
it is.
Yep.
Yeah. So tell us about Telecommunicators Week.
So April 13th is usually the second, third week. Don't quote me, but it's usually mid-April, where nationally all telecommunicators are celebrated for the hard work that they do. It's definitely a stressful job.
Yes.
And it's one of those jobs that we always consider to be a thankless job. You know, no one calls 911 and say, hey, just calling to tell you guys that you did a good job today.
Yeah.
You know, every single time those men and women pick up the phone, every time something comes in their ear, they're actually talking to somebody on the worst day of their life, right? And one of the toughest jobs to do is to kind of eliminate that bias and really go off of what that caller is saying, because although it may not be an emergency to us, it's definitely an emergency to them. And the services that we provide are indicative of that hard work and that dedication that those folks have.
Mm.
And so you said with telecommunicators, we definitely send out appreciation. As we know, 6 months ago, this neighborhood found itself in the throes of Hurricane or Tropical Storm Helene. And I know we did an article here at the county to really highlight the work that the telecommunicators, 911 callers did following that storm and the things that they heard and the support that they gave community. What else can you tell us about 911? We know we call them in the state of emergency. Are there some key things that we can share with our listeners around if they need to call 911 in emergency? What's some of the key things they should definitely state in that state of emergency?
Well, it's so important, and I tell people all the time, and as adults, you know, we get into the habit of driving places and just getting used to a normal flow of where we go, and a lot of times we don't know where we are. It's so important to really know where you are. Look for landmarks if you don't know the exact address, right? If you're at this building, for instance, and you don't know the exact address for this building, well, I know there's an Insomnia Cookie right around the corner.
Yeah.
I know there's a parking garage right across the street. So these are landmarks that we can use to help to locate you. The biggest thing that we need to know is where you are, right? Even if that's all we have, that will work because we can get help started, right? Other supplementary information include your name, your phone number, these types of things, but knowing where you are is so important. And we forget those types of things because we'll go to an address for so long and just forget that address because we know where it is.
Yeah.
Right? So understanding where you are, understanding landmarks, and then being able to articulate to us exactly what's going on.
Yeah.
Now, we don't need to know what happened to Aunt Sally last Thursday. We need to know what's going on today.
Right now.
Right? So one of the main questions you'll hear us ask is, tell me exactly what's going on. Right? And those types of questions are used to drive our response. Because we dispatch for police, fire, and medical, we need to know exactly what's going on. So understanding where you are, right, and understanding that how to articulate exactly what's going on is going to be paramount. And a lot of times people get upset because there's a whole plethora of questions that we have to ask. But again, these questions are used to drive a response. Sometimes there's a need for all different types of services as opposed to just police or just fire or just medical. Sometimes we have to send all three services out. And they're going to be a different type of question for each service so that each first responder who goes in knows what they're going into. And another major part of what we do is keeping those people on the street safe. So we will ask questions that lead towards what we call scene safety. And scene safety is paramount, not only for the police department, but for firefighters, for emergency medical personnel as well. So we will ask a bunch of questions, but you have to realize that us asking those questions does not delay response, right? So just be mindful of that. If you do have to call 911, answer those questions and we'll make sure that we get help to you.
Okay.
Yeah. And so, I know a lot of people, they think, well, I'm calling on a cell phone. You can't track my position.
Correct.
And what people have to understand is that cell phones coordinate with towers, and towers have to bing that telephone signal. So can you tell them about how long they need to be on the phone before they think somebody should know exactly where they are?
Okay, so well,
because that's a question we'll see on TV. It's like, I found them, they're right here. You know, so TV is not real.
Thank you. So let's be clear. We're not Halle Berry. We're not going out to the scene of a call. We're not doing that. But as far as location services, as technology increases in its effectiveness in everyday life, it has increased to afford us the opportunity, or the ability, should I say, to locate callers a lot easier. But no, just because you call from a cell phone does not mean we know exactly where you are. The only time that happens is if you're calling from a landline phone. And in 2025, who still has a landline phone? But I tell people all the time, from your home, I know it's an extra cost, but it may be a benefit to still have a landline phone. That is the only way you can dial 911 and we know exactly where you are.
Wow, okay.
Like you said a few minutes ago, when you call from a cell phone, it bounces off of a cell tower. And that cell tower can only get us so close to where you are. So we can get in the area, but we won't know exactly where you are. We do have other technologies that we employ here at Buncombe County, Rapid SOS being one of them. It's a program that allows us to use lat and longitude coordinates to find you a little bit better, right? But as we continue to embrace technology here at Buncombe County, we will be able to get a lot closer than heretofore, right? But those increases in technology, those enhancements, should I say, are coming. And as they continue to roll out, we will be putting out more and more information about those types of things. But right now, we use a program called Rapid SOS to help us a little better with location services when people can't tell us exactly where they are.
And I think that's so great. I wish we had 911 house phones.
Exactly.
Like it like $8 a month.
Yeah.
It's right there. You get it, or it has a button to it, and then you can talk intercom.
Exactly.
But we don't have that. But the importance of always also teaching your children how to use 911. People laugh because my daughter knows all my passwords to my devices. That's because if something happened to me, I want her to be able to call 911. She knows how to call 911. She knows her address. She's known her address since she was 4, and how to call 911. And I taught her this because when she was 4, she was laying on my back, and my defibrillator went off, and it discharged. And if my defibrillator wouldn't have discharged, I would have not made it. So I taught her that just in case anything ever happens, you call 911, and she knows how to do it. She knows how to get into my phone, her dad's phone, everybody's phone. And somebody may say, "Oh, that's no." It saves her life because you hear the stories because there are not any home phones of a parent dying and a child not being able to call anyone or get help because they don't know how to use their parent's phone.
Right.
And so let's talk about the importance of making sure everyone is aware of how to get safety and when is it important to call 911.
Well, that's funny that you asked, because one of my main things is us engaging with our community. A lot of times departments like 911 aren't what we call forward-facing departments, and one of my initiatives is to make us a lot more forward-facing. So we have developed what we call a public education team. We nicknamed it the PET team.
Oh, nice.
So the public education team is designed to go out into the public, to elementary schools, to high schools, to school fairs, to job fairs, things of that nature, to spread the word about exactly what we do. So there is no age limit, right? We want to start teaching children as soon as they're able to learn those things. It really depends on the parent and the child at what age it is, but as soon as your child is able to start remembering things and to regurgitate those things, it's time to start teaching them about emergency services, when to dial 911, why you dial 911, what information to provide, and then we can come in and we can help to supplement those teachings. All you have to do is reach out to us, let us know you're having an event. We'll be there. We'll make sure that we have somebody there to help you to spread that word.
So I got another question. So with the public safety communications, I know we've been talking about 911. Is there other kind of divisions within your department beyond 911, or is that your main focus?
So our department is structured within 3 different divisions. Okay. So we've got an operations division, and that is what we're talking about. That's the 911 operators. Those are those men and women who work 12-hour shifts a day. And it's funny because if you think about it, they spend more time in the 911 center than they do at home.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
Right? Which further begs the point that these folks need to be recognized as first responders, right?
Yes.
So technically they're the first responders. And this is what I tell people all the time. We're the first responders, right? Because we get that call first, we give that information out. And then the field responders, the first responders in the field, are the ones that respond out. Okay. So we've got operations. We also have a business division. In our business division, basically, I say this is the division that cuts the check. Right? This is the division that cuts the check. And I'm usually asking my business manager for more money. And he usually puts me in my place and tells me, hey, listen, that's not in the budget. You need to tighten up, right? But I'm going to always ask for more money. So we've got operations division, we've got our business division, and then we also have what we call support services. And support services division does everything, supports our systems, which is our CAD system, computer aided dispatch. So it supports those systems, supports our telephony systems, which are not just the phones, but it's how we handle calls, how calls come into our PSAP, right? So support services does everything. Training, all of those things support services does. And then as a team, those division managers work together to make sure it's a fluid machine.
So you made a comment about the different types, of 911 services and things like that. Okay. Can you text 911?
Yes. So a few minutes ago, we were talking about the technologies that are starting to rear their faces within the 911 sphere. And there's a push called Next Gen 911, which includes using technology, right, to our benefit to help us in location services, to help us in call processing, to help us in call handling. And text to 911 is one of those things. And it's funny, at my former agency, when we first initiated text to 911, I was actually the first person to take a text to 911 call. And we would always say, "Oh, this isn't real. This isn't real." And it turned out to be a real call. The young lady had been kidnapped. She had been placed inside of a trunk, and all she could tell me through text was every time they started, every time they stopped. She knew where they started, right? But she didn't know where they were going. So through uses of Rapid SOS and other things that would help us locate her, it took about an hour, but we were able to find the vehicle, find her in the trunk.
Wow.
Nothing had happened, right? So these technologies are not just used to text our friends to go, these technologies are now used as life-saving mechanisms within the work that we do.
And that's a service that we have here in Buncombe County?
You better believe it. We are text to 911 ready.
So, for those older folks who don't like to text, learn how to text just for this, the simple things. If you're ever in trouble with 911, because every time you need 911, you may not be able to talk.
Exactly. So you may be in a situation, for instance, and I'm not going to go to the macabre, but there are times to where you may be in a home invasion, right? And if you're crouched down in the closet, you can't, hey, yeah, I'm in the closet, I'm upstairs, the door is locked, so we will give you clues as to, all right, listen, if you cannot talk, and we have specific things that we train our folks to do. Even if you can't talk, if you can't text, right? Well, just hit 1 for yes and 2 for no. So at that point, what we would do is change our entire question asking paradigm from open-ended questions to all yeses or nos.
Wow.
And that way we're able to get information a lot better, right? Because if I ask you a question, yes, hit the button once. If it's no, hit it twice. That way you don't have to say a word, right?
Wow.
So these are techniques that we use within the communication sphere so that we can try to be a little bit more effective in all types of situations, not just situations where if I'm on the side of the highway, I have a motor vehicle accident, I can call, I can speak freely. Sometimes you can't speak freely, so we have to be strategic in what we do to try to elicit that information.
That's interesting because I sit there and think, because 911, I can remember being young, and I think 911 started probably in the 80s or something.
No, it actually started in the late 60s.
Oh, wow.
So it started in the late 60s with a group of firefighters, and they had basically a consortium of fire chiefs, and they needed a mechanism to report things a lot easier because before then, what you would do is you would just call your local police station and say, hey, this is Miss Mary. I'm at 123 Main Street. I got a fire.
So it's been going around since the 60s?
Yeah, so it's been developing since the late 60s.
Wow.
Yep, it's been developed. I want to say 69, 67, 69.
Okay.
Been developing since then. Yep. And before I don't want to cut you off. I'm sorry, but there's still about 5% of our country who is not included in this 911 sphere. Wow. So there's still about 5% of our country that has no connection to 911.
Wow.
Yep.
Didn't know that.
So that's scary.
That's scary.
I know, because I don't want to be driving through that area.
Exactly.
Exactly. Like, I can't call 911.
I know, because it's one of those things, just like when you're talking about with texting, because just with the evolution of technology, I guess I just never thought about that. And then I wonder with my kids, I got kids that matriculated through school and older now, but I wonder did they learn that? Because I can remember a campaign when we was younger and it was all like, had that little jingle called 911, tell them what your problem is and help is going to come.
And see in the early 80s, 69 to early 80s, that's not a big leap in not only technology and things of that nature. So it was still developing even in the early 80s. And you just told your age by that.
We share that with 80 babies on the
80 babies all the time. I always think about like at TV shows when we were growing up. What was it? Is her name? Is her name Punky Brewster?
Yeah.
You remember the young girl got locked in the refrigerator and they had to like call and like the ambulance got there and all that stuff. That's always when I like saw like 911 stuff. And sometimes it felt like it wasn't really real. But I always thought it was a city thing because I lived in the middle of the country. And so I was like, why would I be calling 911? It's like, my house on fire, it's just on fire.
Right.
My parents always took us to the hospital if there was an emergency because of where we lived. But my aunt lived in Memphis, which was 45 minutes away from where we lived.
In town.
Yes. And so they were going. I saw the ambulance. I saw the fire trucks. I saw all those things. And so it's funny how kids perceive emergency services.
Exactly.
I know one of the big things that they used to do in the school system, they still do it now, I think, but not as much. The fire trucks will come to the schools and things of that nature. I'm not sure if EMS comes, but I think it would be so nice to have that paired up group so that kids can see that they all go hand in hand. Because I'm telling you, it's really strange when the fire department shuttles to your house, then the EMS, then the police, and it's like your kid is like, okay, like what is going on here?
Yeah, well, that tiered response is for a reason, and we can get a lot deeper into the weeds of it, but everybody should also understand why fire stations are placed where they are.
Yes.
A lot of people don't really understand that, but fire stations are placed within your community to be within 8 minutes of any residence within their specific jurisdiction. And this is because of homeowners insurance and things of that nature called ISO ratings. And if you're more than 8 minutes away from a fire station, then your homeowner's insurance is going to shoot through the roof, right? So whenever you see the campaigns to build a fire station here, to build a fire station there, it's not just to spend money, right? It's really for the citizens' benefit to reduce their homeowners insurance ratings. But fire is usually the first ones there because they're usually closest. And then EMS usually arrives and then PD. But there are situations to where the police department has to come on scene first before any fire or EMS personnel are allowed into that scene. And it's usually a scene safety issue, where either violence, weapons, or something of that nature is occurring where the police department has to go in first, secure that scene, and then they will allow the medical and the fire personnel in.
I know that's one of the things that drew me to my house. The fire department is less than a mile away, and I have a hydrant in my cul-de-sac.
Nice.
And I'm the second house from the cul-de-sac.
Nice.
I was like,
but now that's not always the key, right? Because you can be on a jurisdictional boundary line, and you may be literally 2 or 3 blocks away from a fire station, but that fire station may be in another city.
Oh, no, it's mine.
You've stayed claim on that fire station.
They did all my car seat stuff. They've been to my house multiple times.
Yeah, and and the fire department, they're usually amazing resources for things not just concerning with fire, like you mentioned. So many fire stations provide car seats, right? So many fire stations provide smoke detectors. So they're not just there just to come fight fires. They're there for fire prevention, for fire education, and all other sorts of education as well.
And car safety.
Yeah.
They tell you how to. I had this thing that went on my seatbelt when I had surgery. And they were like helping me get it adjusted because I had the seatbelt all just not on.
not where it should be.
Yeah, and they were like, okay. And I was like, I bought this thing so that it won't hurt. And they adjusted it for me. They did all my daughter's car seats, everything. And
you need to pay them a check.
You know what? I brought cookies.
Okay. Listen, that works.
Because at that time I was working for a nonprofit, so we both were poor.
That works.
Yeah, but I think it's so important that kids, you always heard kids say, I want to be a fireman, I want to do this. I think it's so important for them to see them, and see police officers, and see EMT folks and things of that nature. So
and it's also important for them to see 911 operators.
Yes,
as well.
I was going to say that. So how does your office get out? So that was my next question. How does your office get out in front of the kids? Like, is there a specific person in 911 call center that is able to go and talk to the kids, or can your team sign up and go talk to kids? Like, how do you? I know you all have the pet team, but do they actually have folks that are actually doing the phone calls and things like that, able to go and talk to kids?
That's affirmative. So the team is created from multiple levels within our organization, and it's more about us facilitating more communication. So it's not necessarily us having to go out. I'm big on having visitors come to our center and see exactly what we do.
It is very nice.
Thank you. And by the way, we're actually building a brand new center that will be, again, more technologically advanced, which would help us be more efficient. But it's designed more to increase the morale within our department. But back to your question, so it's not all about us getting out. It's about us engaging when folks come in. One of my things to get a little bit down the line is what we call a Citizens University. Wow. And I want the Citizens University to be encompassing of the entire county. So what I would like to do is start a program to where we can have every single agency within the county represented in this Citizens University. And citizens can come sign up. They would be a part of this, and they would go visit every single department. So that way they can ask those questions that they've always had, but never really either got around to asking, didn't ask, or for some reason didn't get an answer. So I want everybody who's listening to this to be on the lookout for a Citizens University. Give us a couple of months. We'll start to put that thing together, and that's another outlet for us to be able to teach the public about what we do, but not only what we do, but what Buncombe County does as a whole, right? Because if we increase the levels of education about what we do, then our services inherently become more efficient.
Yeah,
and I think that's a great way
to recruit.
Yeah, don't take my idea now.
Yeah, it's a great way to recruit. We all on the same team.
Yeah, no,
Team Buncombe County.
Yeah, there we go. One Buncombe.
I would always say, Dr. O.C. said.
Yeah, there we go.
I always give credit what the credit's due. But how could someone, if they listen to this interview and they're like, I think I would like to be a first responder with Buncombe County and work into the emergency communications, how would they get, and what do they need first, and how could they apply?
First and foremost, what they need is to have a positive attitude, right? What we need is a positive attitude, because a large part of what we do is really customer service. Yes, we're handling emergency situations. Yes, we're giving life-saving instructions every single day, but it's more about us providing customer service. So a positive attitude is number one. You got to, of course, be 18. There is a background check. So we want those folks who are living right and who want to help to apply. And you can just go onto the Buncombe County website, look for any job postings. We have what we call an evergreen posting, so that posting is always up. That posting is always up, and we have different positions again within our department as well for those folks who maybe not really good at on the phone or something like that. Those other two divisions also help to support our efforts in providing assistance to the citizens. But yeah, go online. I would also say that anybody who wants to just reach out and possibly have a conversation about emergency communication and how they can get involved, they can email me. That'll be Osiris, OSIRIS .Carter, CARTER @buncombenc.gov. Shoot me an email. I am one of the most responsive people you'll ever meet, so shoot me an email. Now, if there are visitors to the center, you do have to fill out basically an NDA. You know, in general terms, it's an NDA, because if you come in and visit, you may hear some personal information. You may hear some things that can't be shared. So you do have to sign a waiver saying, you know, I won't be in here taking pictures and putting this on my Instagram page and all those types of things.
It's non-disclosure.
Thank you. I'm telling you. But no, I welcome visitors. I would love for people to come in and discuss exactly what we do. And I will be the point of contact for that, right? I'm not just the director. I am a part of that team. And so I don't want anybody to think that I'm all the way at the top, and no, that's not how we operate on my team. Everybody is a part of the team, and everybody has a role to play.
All right, Randy has given us the time, so we have 2 minutes left.
That's it.
Amazing.
We only been in here 2
very
minutes,
informative.
Right?
We only been in here 2 minutes.
You know what that means? You get to come back and you get to do a part 2, because we have. I'm looking at the paper. We have so many more questions that we wanted to ask.
Okay.
But what I always have my folks do. Give something that you want our community to have, something that you didn't get a chance to say, or something you want to reiterate.
The only thing I would say is that at Buncombe County Public Safety Communications, we are here to serve. We are here to serve you guys, the citizens, the business owners, our stakeholders of Buncombe County. We're here to serve. And if there's something that we can do to assist, because we not only provide emergency, instructions and things of that nature, but we also provide general information as well. So if you are in need, make sure you give us a call. And I definitely hope to be on part 2, part 3. We can go up to part 10 if we need to. I can talk about 911 and public safety communications all day long.
All right. And I just want to just say welcome to Buncombe County. It's exciting to have you here. You got some good energy and good thoughts going on.
I appreciate it, my friend. Appreciate it.
Pass it on.
And what's that number, Leonard? I'm just because Leonard always usually reads the number to whatever services.
If you ever need help or in an emergency, dial 911.
I'm telling you.
I had to do that, Leonard.
I got a number, 911.
If you need help, and shoot me an email if you need anything. Let me know.
Yeah. And just to everyone who's listening, we do these interviews not because it's just part of our job, but because we want you all to be knowledgeable of everything that's going on in this community, because we know that we are one Buncombe, and we want to make sure that you have a voice to the people, the names that you hear that are in charge of things. If you have any questions, please get in contact with Dr. Carter, or us. Reach out to community and public engagement. My brain just walked out the room for a second.
Or if you're looking for a job.
Yes.
This is a big part of teaching people that there are jobs in the community.
There are jobs in the community. Yeah. And all you have to do is be 18 with a good background record, and you just never know how far it will take you.
Yes.
So if you would love to become part of this team, apply. And if you just want to learn more, research. We have a webpage. And just remember, until next time, you've been tapped in.
Thank you for listening to Tapped In, Buncombe County's half hour to empower, here on WRES 100.7 FM in Nashville. Learn more about today's topics at buncombecounty.org. Otherwise, stay tuned for more great episodes coming up.